Hey, are you ready for a couple more chapters of our book? Okay, do you remember that we're reading A Mouse Called Wolf? Yesterday, we heard about his mom. Her name's Mary, remember her? And we heard about how she came up with his name, and his name is Wolfgang Amadeus Mouse. And we also learned that his brothers and sisters aren't very nice to him. And they came up with a nickname for him named Wolf, and he actually loves that nickname. So today, let's start with chapter 3. It's called A Song. Wolf was even more delighted when his 12 brothers and sisters left home. For some time, Mary Mouse's milk supply had been dwindling, and the pups had become used to accompanying their mother on her nightly scrounge. Scrounge is when you dig around looking for something. Around the house they would go in the wee hours of the night, especially to the kitchen and the dining room. They traveled by a system of mouse ways, searching the floors and tables and cupboards for anything edible. Soon, the bolder ones stopped coming back to the hole by the piano leg, and before long, it was only Wolf who returned home. He felt safer with his mother, and she was pleased to have him still at home with her. He, in turn, was pleased that she had become used to hearing the others use his shortened name, and now did so too, only addressing him as Wolfgang Amadeus if she was angry with him, which was seldom. All through the first weeks of his life, Wolf had been used to hearing the sound of the piano, for the lady of the house played every day. The other pups grumbled at the music. "What a racket!" they muttered to one another. "How are we expected to get a good day's sleep?" But Wolf grew to like the noise very much, and now, alone, Mary slept through it, he began to listen carefully to the melodies. The lady usually played her piano twice each day, in the late morning and then again in the early evening. The evening recital was the one Wolf enjoyed most, because by then he was rested and awake. He began sitting in the mouth of the hole by the piano leg and listening to the music above his head. He found that even when the playing stopped, he could still hear a particular tune inside his head, and he would hum it to himself, in kind of a silent hum, as he followed his mother about on the night's foraging. "I wish mice could sing," he said to his mother, "instead of just squeaking. I'd love to be able to sing." Mary had not had a very successful scavenge and was tired and hungry. "Mice, sing!" she cried. "Don't be such a stupid child, Wolfgang Amadeus." "Now she's annoyed at me," thought Wolf, and he said no more on the subject. But he couldn't stop thinking about it. The next day, in fact, he actually dreamed that he was singing. When he awoke, it was early afternoon, a time, had he known it, when the lady of the house always had a little nap after her lunch. Mary Mouse was also fast asleep, so Wolf crept quietly out of the mouse hole, scaled the piano leg, walked along the keyboard, and sat down on middle C, just below the elegant lettering that said Steinway and Sons. That's the name of the maker who made the piano. He sat there thinking of a particular tune. It was a favorite of the lady's, and she often played it, so he knew it by heart. If only mice could sing, thought Wolf. Now is the perfect moment. Here is the perfect place, and this is the perfect song for me, he sighed. "Ah, me," he said. "Perhaps, though, I can't sing it, I could try to squeak it." And he threw back his head, and he opened his mouth. Do you see him there? Then, to his total surprise, out came that little mouth. Out of that little mouth came a high, clear, lovely little voice that sang every note of the melody to perfection. Wolf was singing like a bird, except no songbird in the world could have sung such a beautiful song. La 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 la, he caroled, for of course he knew no words to the music. But it did not matter, for by chance the piece he had chosen was from a book of folk tunes by Mendelssohn called Songs Without Words. Long and loudly sang Wolf, repeating the melody again and again in the ecstasy of discovery that to say mice could not sing was not entirely true. One mouse could. But before he finally fell silent, others in the house were awakened by his loud, loud solo. Mary came out of a deep sleep and her hole and climbed the piano leg. Her mouth fell open in utter amazement, but no sound came from it. In various holes, in various rooms, Wolf's brothers and sisters grumbled at this strange noise that had awakened them. Snoozing on her bed, the lady of the house thought that she heard, somewhere downstairs, a familiar tune by Mendelssohn, decided she'd been dreaming, and went back to sleep. But there was one pair of ears in the kitchen that caught the sound of Wolf singing and aroused in their owner a certain curiosity. The cat jumped out of its bed beside the stove and stretched, spreading its claws wide before padding silently toward the living room. Uh-oh, that's where Mouse is. Oh boy. Chapter 4, A Trap. Beautiful. Wolf, that was quite beautiful, cried Mary as the song came to an end. Oh, to think that I am the mother of the world's first singing mouse. And she ran along the keyboard to nuzzle her child affectionately. You're a genius, she said. Sing me something else, like a good boy. What would you like, Mommy? Asked Wolf, but his mother did not answer. Instead, she suddenly crouched on the keys, still as a stone, her hair on end, her eyes bulging in obvious terror as she stared over the singer's shoulder. Do you know what she's seeing? Looking quickly behind him, Wolf saw the cat creeping across the carpet, head raised, yellow eyes staring up at the two mice on the piano. It gathered itself to spring. Wolf saw immediately that jumping down to the floor would be suicide. The cat would catch one or both of them before they had time to reach the safety of their hole. Quick, Mommy, he cried, follow me. And with a mighty effort, he scrabbled his way up over Steinway and Sons and into the body of the grand piano, Mary hard on his heels. That means she's running right behind him. It is doubtful that the mice might somehow have been able to escape the cat in the network of taut wires that formed the piano strings, but fate now took a hand in the proceedings. The cat's leap took it up onto the right-hand edge of the piano, but its landing was an unfortunate one, for the cat hit the prop stick, which held the top of the instrument open, and dislodged it. Supported no longer, the heavy top began to fall, and instantly, with that lightning reaction that cats have, the attacker wheeled to jump back down again. But the cat was not quite quick enough. The top of the piano fell shut, not with quite the loud crash you would have expected, but with a slightly more muffled noise. Caught between the top and the body of the piano was an inch of ginger tail. Then the force of the fall of the piano top made it bounce just a fraction. The cat fell free and rushed from the living room at full speed. Here's a picture of the cat chasing them inside the piano. Oh boy. In the days that followed, the squashed and bruised tip of the cat's tail healed, but in its mind the cat carried the scars of that encounter for the rest of its life. Far from realizing that what had happened was its own fault, the cat felt sure, then and forever, that it was the mice who had engineered the whole thing. It was the mice who woke me up with their noise, the cat thought. who lured me into the room, who jumped inside the piano knowing that I would follow. It was the mice who somehow sprang that trap that caught my tail in its jaws. Little did Mary and Wolf realize, but from that moment on, the cat would never again pose a threat to them. From then on, unknown to them, they were to live in a house with a cat that was forevermore scared stiff of mice. Now, all they knew was that they were prisoners. Fearfully, they explored the blackness of the inside of the closed piano, looking for some way out, but finding none. All the time, as they crisscrossed the tightly stretched strings, their feet made a discordant jingle of tiny sounds, a little tinkling sonata for two mice and piano. So you guys, they're trapped inside the piano. Yikes. At last, tired out by the difficulty of keeping their balance on all those dozens of tight ropes, they crouched side by side in the darkness. "Oh, Wolfgang Amadeus," Mary sighed. "Not angry with me, are you, Mommy?" asked Wolf. "No, dear, no. I only used your full name because I was thinking how splendid it would have sounded if you had become a famous singer, which now you never will." "Why not, Mommy?" asked Wolf. "Because we are fated to die here on this cold bed of wires, you and I." "No, we aren't, Mommy," said Wolf. "The lady plays the piano every evening and always with the top up. She'll come along soon and raise it, and then we can make a run for home." "Home," said Mary heavily. "Something tells me I will never see it again. If the lady does lift the lid, which I doubt, it'll only be to put the cat in." "Oh, cheer up, Mommy," said Wolf. "I'll sing you a song." He thought of a tune that the lady occasionally played in the evenings as the light outside faded and the living room grew gradually darker in the gathering dusk. And he sat up on his haunches and began to sing this song. Its name or the words to it he did not know, of course, and could not have understood. But its gentle melody seemed to him about right for calming an over-anxious mother. So intent was Wolf on his singing, and so lost in admiration was the listening Mary, that neither heard footsteps approaching the grand piano. Very slowly, very quietly, the lady of the house opened the top of her instrument to see within a mouse watching another smaller mouse. The smaller mouse was, to her complete shock, singing an old ballad in a high, pure, true voice. There was not the shadow of a doubt about the tune. It was love's old sweet song. That's where we'll stop for today. And tomorrow I'll read you chapter 5, and it's called A Lesson. Bye.